Well, hello and welcome to my latest video. Movie review time. Yes, we're not talking about cycling, it's back to the movies for me and my favourite movie buddy, which is my son Joel. And what are we talking about? Well, we're talking about Tenet, the latest film by Christopher Nolan. What's it like? Is it any good? Should you spend your money? Stick around and you'll find out. Now, first of all, you'll want to know about my cap. And this is by Jam Cycling. Yes, we're back to cycling. Little outfit. They have a YouTube channel actually called Bun and Beard. No, I don't know either. Anyway, I bought this cap from them and I think it's rather nice. And it covers up my rather unfortunate hairstyle that my daughter decided to give me. Anyway, went back to the movies. First time in 6 months. And first of all, you'll want to know what was the experience like. Well, the experience was all right, actually. Every 2 seats in the cinema, the Picture House in East Dulwich in South London, every 2 seats were empty and you had to wear a mask in the cinema, and that was okay. My glasses fogged up a little bit, but not too much to see the screen, and luckily there weren't any subtitles, so I didn't have a problem with that. Was a guy sitting in front of me wearing a cap, but he took it off. It wasn't a Jam Cycling cap, I'm not sure what it was. So, Tenet. Well, first thing to say is I really liked it. I loved it. Is that because I haven't been to the movies for 6 months? Well, it could be, but I just thought it was a really enjoyable experience. Now, what's it about? Well, it's a sort of James Bond. In other words, it's a good versus evil, it's a goodies versus baddies, it's a cowboys versus Indians. No, they're not Indians. Native Americans. Cowboys versus Native Americans. That's it. There's a goodie, and the goodie is played by John David Washington. No, not me neither. He doesn't have a name. He's known as the protagonist. There was a boy at my school called Protagonist, but we called him John. And there is a baddie, and the baddie is played by Kenneth Branagh, who must be short of money if he's appearing in these kind of films. Anyway, the baddie is a Russian oligarch. Now, what is it about Russian oligarchs that they have suddenly got a monopoly on all the baddies? All the wicked people in the world seem to be Russian oligarchs. They're all middle-aged men, a bit like me, only slightly younger. They all have very young, rather attractive wives, and they're always up to no good. Now, somebody, I can't remember who it was, said every great fortune is based on a great crime. Was it Rothschild, or was it Karl Marx? Was it Karl Marx who was talking about the Rothschilds? I can't remember. Anyway, all of the oligarchs, and the Russian oligarchs, they seem to develop their fortunes out of a great crime, as did the character played by Kenneth Branagh, whose name is Andre. Now, you're going to want to know something about the plot, and here I have to confess, I didn't really understand it. Now, you might say, well, Julian, it's not designed for 64-year-olds, it's designed for young people who understand the way of the world. Well, I went with my son, who is 19, and he didn't understand it either. So there. It's something to do with time travel, or time, notions of time. And you'll probably remember Christopher Nolan's, was it his first film? Was it the first film that I came across, which was Memento, which played upon notions of time, and Inception, that played upon notions of time. I really enjoyed that, although I didn't understand that either. Joel says that Interstellar, which I haven't seen, also plays with notions of time. So Christopher Nolan is very interested in time. And one of the things that the James Bond films do is it's just a goodie versus a baddie. And the baddie has usually got some desire to take over the world, but there isn't anything particularly interesting. There isn't any deep philosophy in the film. Now, I'm not saying there's deep philosophy in Tenet, but it does make you think about some of these notions to do with time. Now, what are the notions? Well, this is where I rather come unstuck. Let me briefly try and summarise it best as I can. Sometime in the future, there is a scientist who invents some way for time to operate both forwards and backwards, so that objects or people can be going forwards as well as backwards in time. And this leads to the development of a possible bomb which can destroy the whole world, because the world doesn't know whether it's coming or going, a bit like Britain under Brexit. And so the scientists decides that they want to hide the secrets of this discovery, which is in the form of an algorithm. You see, you knew Facebook would take over the world, and they did. So it's in the form of an algorithm, and the way that this scientist decides to hide the algorithm is to split it up into 9 pieces and then hide it in the past, which is a rather clever notion, I thought. I mean, I didn't understand it, but I think it's a rather clever notion. Anyway, somehow or other, this Andre, played by Kenneth Branagh, I hope you're following, with a very Kenneth Branagh-ish type Russian oligarchish accent, is contacted by somebody in the future. This is where I kind of lost track of it a bit. And Kenneth Branagh is trying to find these various bits of the algorithm. And what he's going to do when he puts it all together is destroy the whole world, including himself. Now, I didn't quite fit all those bits together. So I don't think I'm giving any plot spoilers, because I think in order to give a plot spoiler, you've probably got to understand the plot, which I didn't entirely. And then the protagonist, and I hope you're following, the protagonist is some kind of James Bondish secret agent. I couldn't work out whether he works for the CIA or for British intelligence or for somewhere else. And if I'm honest, I couldn't work out what Tenet was or is, or where it came from, or what its relevance was to the plot. It was some kind of secret word, but I didn't understand that bit of it. Anyway, the protagonist, who starts off, by the way, at a siege in an opera in Kiev, where there's hundreds of people who seem to get killed, and then there's lots of goodies and lots of baddies who end up in a fight together. Now, that is a very, what's the word? It's a powerful scene. It's a very loud scene. There's lots of running about and there's lots of shooting, but I did not understand the relevance of that scene to the rest of the film. Or it could be that I didn't understand the relevance of the film to that particular scene, or it could be that I just didn't understand any of it. There is a love interest, because Andre has a much younger wife, as they always do. She wasn't impossibly beautiful. Now, I hope that's not coming across as a really sexist kind of thing to say. But these young, impossibly beautiful wives that these Russian oligarchs always have, and they're played by actresses in the film, this one wasn't. I mean, yes, she was attractive, but she wasn't impossibly beautiful. And the reason why I think that matters is that our protagonist, played by John David Washington, no, me neither, develops what's the word? He doesn't exactly have an affair, although there's an affair alluded to. Anyway, he obviously is in some way smitten by her and decides to help her. There is a Goya painting, a painting by Goya, which has a rather important part in the plot, but I didn't really understand what part it played. Now, you're going to be saying, well, Julian, did you actually understand any of the film? And the answer is, well, no, probably not. But the key answer is it didn't matter. It didn't matter. I really enjoyed the film. There was lots of banging and crashing, and there was lots of running about, and there was lots of things taking place in the future and in the past. And it wasn't obvious that they'd used a whole load of CGI. It looked that Christopher Nolan had actually made these things happen on a soundstage, and it takes place in all sorts of different parts of the world, a world that we can't get to. And I thought that was really great. Now, there is a couple of things. Now, first of all, I'm not giving any plot spoilers, and I'm not going to pick holes in the plot, and it's hard to pick holes in the plot that you didn't really understand. But interestingly enough, in that the film is released during this particular time, is for a certain amount of time during the film, various members of the cast are wearing masks. Now, they're not these type of masks. They are oxygen masks, or they are big helmets with sort of big gas masks. And when these people are wearing the masks, now you can probably understand really much what I'm saying here, because I'm trying to make it really clear. But there are quite large parts of the film where people are talking to these masks, and I really didn't understand a word from what they were saying. You know, I don't even know that. I'll take that off for a minute. Now, did you see that Batman film? I don't know which Batman film it was, where Tom Hardy plays a character called Bane, I think, and Bane, where the point was like, you can't understand what he's saying. And I thought that film See, I thought that Batman film was really kind of rubbish because I didn't understand what they were saying. Now, I know it's because I'm a little bit old. I know it's because I'm getting a little bit hard of hearing. I know I struggle in a cinema to hear everything. But there's lots of people like me. And my son said, well, I didn't understand it either. Now, I suppose you could say, well, if you didn't understand the plot of the film, you didn't understand the film at all, the fact that you couldn't understand their dialogue doesn't really help. Well, no, it doesn't make it much worse, but it doesn't make it any better either. But I'm saying it again, guys, it doesn't matter. I didn't care. I really enjoyed this film. Now, quite often, 6 months ago, I'd see films and I thought, oh, that film was rubbish. It was absolutely dreadful. And I'd turn to my son after a couple of minutes and I'd say, let's go. Like that execrable film that won the Oscar a year or two ago that I walked out of, and I can't even remember its name. Emma Stone was in it. You probably know the one I mean. Parasite. That was the last film I saw before this film. I thought Parasite was absolutely wonderful. I wouldn't say this film is up there with Parasite. I think you had to understand the plot of a film if you're going to say it's a really good film. But I thought it was great. Didn't think much of John David Washington. He's a bit wooden, but he doesn't really have to do very much. The girl, the woman, Catherine, I think her name was, not sure who she was played with. She was all right. She wasn't impossibly beautiful. And Kenneth Branagh had this typical Kenneth Branagh type Russian oligarchist accent, and at the end of it, he before he gets his comeuppance, I won't say what actually happens because I don't want to spoil the plot for you. He makes a big speech about destroying the world, like the Blofeld characters in Doctor Who, or like the Blofeld characters in the Bond films always do, and that got a bit tiresome. But it wasn't overlong. The speech, it wasn't overlong. The one thing I really disliked about the film is that Michael Caine is in it. Now, Michael Caine has got to be pushing 90 if he's a day, and he plays an upper class, is he the head of Secret Service? He's something to do with the Secret Service, didn't understand what. And John David Washington, who plays the protagonist, meets him in a gentleman's club in London somewhere, not quite sure why, and they have a conversation sitting at the table, and I just thought, oh, come on, not Michael Caine, please. He just ruins the film because he's only in it for a few minutes, but you just think, oh no, not Michael Caine again. Christopher Nolan. Now, my son says that Michael Caine appears in a lot of Christopher Nolan films. Well, he didn't appear in Memento, I can tell you that much. So that rather spoilt my enjoyment of it. But, does it matter? No, not really. I really liked the film. I really enjoyed the film. I really found the bits about time, even though I didn't understand them, I found them really interesting, so I get to ponder upon them after I've seen the film. And I want to go back to the movies. I want to see more movies. And if you've got to sit, here's a piece of, this is not government advice, right? This is advice from Julian. Get out to the cinema. Go and support your local cinema. So what? You sit in the cinema with a mask on and your glasses fog up. It doesn't matter. It's the filmic experience that you want. It's the bangs and the crashes. It's the noise. It's the plot you don't understand. It's sitting there in a kind of... It's a social environment with people who are sitting 2 seats away eating popcorn when they haven't got their masks over their mouth. It's great. Get back out there. Go and see the film. I sound like a government advert now. Go to work, don't go to work. Go and see a film, don't go and see a film. Go out, don't go out. Stay at home, don't stay at home. Send your kids to school, don't send your kids to school. Don't send your kids to school. Go and see a film. Go and see Tenet. I thought it was really good. And see you next time.